Alright, what's up, everybody? Dawangthang here. This time we are here to talk about Justice League. So I did get to see this on opening day. It had like the crowd that I expected it to. It was like mostly full, but it wasn't like a packed theater by any means. So if you guys are wondering, yeah, you guys won't have any issues watching this movie at all. So it does have a lot going against it for sure. Obviously, most of the DC movies have been just complete shit overall. Exception being Wonder Woman being all right. Um, just to let you know, I guess I'll go through my thoughts of the previous movie. So, Man of Steel, just horrible. Basically, Superman's dad's an asshole. Superman's kind of a dick too. Action scenes are pretty good for the most part. Like they kind of captured the essence well of what a Superman fight should look like, and they actually put him like, up against somebody that should challenge him, which I did appreciate. But yeah, it just didn't do it to me. So much Jesus imagery and all that. A lot of product placement is hilarious. But yeah, no, just overall not a good film. I think next up on the line was Suicide Squad, the second DC Universe movie. Let me just double check that. So wait, Batman. Wow. Okay, so after Man of Steel's Batman versus Superman, I didn't realize it was a 3 year gap. Okay. Well, yeah. So then the next one, Batman versus Superman. Yeah, that was even worse than Man of Steel. The redeeming things about that one, I love Ben Affleck's Batman. I thought that was a good take on the character. Obviously, everyone's going to mention Martha being the stupidest thing in the world. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I absolutely despise that. That was one of the worst choices ever. It's just a bad version of Joker. It's not even Lex Luthor. So that irritates me. Then yeah, overall the action sequences weren't too interesting there. You know, the whole fight of Batman versus Superman, like that wasn't even too interesting. They completely destroyed Death of Superman. That was botched. Then Wonder Woman was just a cameo in there. Final fight with Doomsday wasn't that good. It was overall really long, boring, not too interesting. There were some really good moments in there, for sure. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would say there was like at least 3 or 4 good scenes in there. Overall, it's like I was happy I saw it at least, but like yeah, definitely would never see it again. Not really worth your time at all. Suicide Squad. I will say at first I was like mildly okay with it when I first saw it, but then when you just kind of look back and analyze it, there's nothing okay about that movie. Like on a technical level, that is one of the worst things I have ever seen in my entire life. Like I remember watching it. It's like at the end when Diablo's about to fight Enchantress. There's literally a scene where he's just talking to the squad, and then it cuts away to him just like walking down these stairs while the squad's at the back. So like literally there's a complete like disconnection of logic of how the scenes are laid out, and that is the worst editing thing I've ever seen in a movie up at that point. So yeah, that was awful. It didn't really know. The action scenes in that movie were terrible too. Like I remember just looking like these are boring. Of course, color scheme wasn't good at all. Most of the characters kind of did like a. Most of the actors I think did a passable job. Like I didn't think any of the actors were particularly terrible. I just think the scripts were bad for them. A lot of out of place things too. Too many things going on as well. It's not a complicated. It's not supposed to be complicated, but they find a way to make it complicated. But yeah, just overall horrible movie. Also, yeah, Joker sucks. And I'm not a fan of Jared Leto's Joker. Then we get to Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman, I thought was like the first movie where I was like, okay, this is actually a decent movie. Overall, I liked Wonder Woman's character. Like Gal Gadot did a much better job than I was expecting because I've only really seen her in the Fast and Furious movies, and it's Fast and Furious. So well, the acting's only so much there. But then I like the way they characterized the Amazons. They gave a great backstory. Some of the visuals there were excellent. They finally added color to the DC universe, which like the first 3 movies completely like just all gray and like mute blue. It's ugly. And then they finally get to that. This was the only DC movie where I thought the mute color palette was fine because they have all the color in the Amazon world, but then they get to World War One. World War One is like a very dark, kind of nasty war, and that's the color scheme you expect when you think of World War One. So As far as that one, I didn't really mind as much. And then, on the proper times on the battlefield or color pop, so visually there, I thought it was fine. Story was also super passable. All the characters were pretty much likable. I know a lot of people give flack to like basically the Howling Commandos that join up with her and Pilot Dude during most of it once they're at the war. But like they kind of explained it there, and the way that I interpreted them was basically they were a different piece of humanity. Like one of them was just like kind of like a hopeless drunk. The other one was like somebody that respect nature, and then I guess like an actor or something like that. But it's like they'll kind of represent a different part of humanity. And I was like, I thought it was fine. You at least remembered what their personalities were like. You may not remember their names, but I think that's better than what they did with job. That was a better job they did than with like the Howling Commandos with Captain America there. So it's like you at least remembered them, and there wasn't really anything insulting or offensive. It's just they just kind of showed you different parts of their lives, and like when they had those down times, like when the one sniper dude was like drunk playing at the piano and all that. It was like I kind of got what they were going for there, and I didn't think it was that bad. The villain not too interesting. I thought Ares' methods were kind of interesting, but they completely botched that final fight, and then the mustache was stupid. Like, all they had to do to fix that at all is like they could have kept the actor because he could shapeshift into whatever the hell he wanted to. Is like if they just made the mask dark, like where you could see his face, and then just gave him red eyes, that's Ares. You would have been 100% okay. But and the idea to make his armor out of all the weapons there, I thought was smart. So it's like even though it's like it's not the most appealing looking thing, like it made a lot of sense, but unfortunately that kind of got botched, and that's kind of what knocks it down a little bit. But I mean, overall I thought Wonder Woman was a pretty good movie. Then now we get to Justice League. So Josh Whedon finally took this over. He was one of the ones that basically helped set up the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So basically came in to do a patch job. He heard Zack Snyder's no longer. At least as far as I know, he's not. He left the helm of Justice League because of unfortunate family issues that he's going through. So there's all you can see the Snyder in this, and you can see a lot of the Whedon in this movie. But basically they have to set up the multiverse of DC. That's basically the main point of Justice League. I mean, technically Batman vs Superman was going to do that, but those movies really didn't do too much to set it up. This is their first like big launch into okay, we got the DCU now. So how did it do? I have a lot of things to say about it. So first of all, it is an enjoyable experience. The main thing that carries us through is all the characters here, like all 6 of them, are extremely enjoyable characters. Like you do want to see them more. I was actually very surprised by the 2 that I was really questioning going in. Well, the 3, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. We haven't seen much of them. And then when you see Aquaman in the trailers, like he just basically spouts one-liners and whatnot. But at least visually, he always looked fine. But I'm happy to report that all of them are very, very solid. Wonder Woman and Batman are also very solid as well. I thought they were portrayed nicely, and whatnot. So if that's good, then what's wrong? So the plot's stupid. The plot's horrible. The plot is literally nothing but plot conveniences. That's what drives the entire story. This thing just happens to work like that to advance the plot, and then the next thing happens to advance the plot. That's all the movie is. Also, the villain in this movie, Steppenwolf, is just garbage. Just complete garbage. He was a horrible villain to use as like your first like big introduction. He's just not interesting. He's not even though they try to make him threatening, he's not threatening at all. And then especially by the end, he's especially not threatening. So that's a big issue. Another big issue that they have too is the special effects. This is probably the worst special effects I've ever seen in a big budget movie. Like, period. These effects are horrible. Literally, like 20 times throughout the entire movie, you will notice a visible green screen in the background of where these characters are. Like literally, Superman is standing in a fucking cornfield, and you see that shot in the trailers all the time. There's so many times where he's just in a cornfield, and in a real cornfield. But then it cuts to him in that same cornfield, but except there's a green screen behind him. And you're like, what the fuck? So they managed to fuck up that bad. Like it was noticeable enough that even my friend that's not a critic, like he's a huge comic book fan and all that. Of course, he's so critical of the movies at least, but like he never really comments on the visuals because he always says them to be good. He said like that actually he noticed how bad the production values were. Like he noticed every single green screen. If like a casual fan's noticing that, then that's not spelling out good news for you for sure. So yeah, also pacing wise, horrible. If you haven't heard, they took out 45 minutes of this movie, so I'm not exactly sure what they cut out. I'm not going to say the 45 minutes would have saved this movie by any means. I think it could have made it a better. I don't think it would have been saved though. There's just what they decided to do with the story. I think no matter what, it was kind of screwed to begin with. But yeah, no, pacing wise, it's a mess. It's like they just knew they had to hit like story points, and that was really it. And then also just the editing together, like literally the opening scene, Batman is just finding some guy on a roof, and then like he captures him with like the grappling hook and hangs him over the building like Batman does, but the sequence that they do it in is just bad. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like the only thing that happens is like the guy, like the person that Batman's trying to catch, pulls out a gun, he knocks the gun away, and then he picks it up. The guy goes to pick up the gun again, but just the way that it's edited is just horrible. It's just like just kind of a leap in logic, and just it doesn't flow correctly. If you do end up watching the after this, just let me know if you do find that point out exactly. So yeah, that was bad. So on a technical level, this movie's one of the worst I've seen. Like literally the final climax that you can see in the trailers with like all the red stuff going everywhere literally looks like PS2 graphics. It looks as bad as it does in the trailers in the movie theaters. So points off for that one. Fortunately, this movie does also go back to the muted DC style where like all the colors just completely sucked out for the most part. You can tell where Whedon did kind of put his touches on there. They did emphasize putting a little bit more color in like certain segments, but for the most part, it's very Snyderverse, just muted and everything. It doesn't look good. All right, but also speaking of other things, so one of the big controversies comes out is the Amazons, the new costume designs and all that. But there's more than just that too. But I will say a tidbit on the costumes. The costumes just look bad. Like not even just on just like purely just the objection level. It's just they look a lot worse than they did in Wonder Woman. Because like they're just like brown. It's just brown leather. Like it just doesn't even look appealing. And then they even changed like except for Wonder Woman's armor, they even subtly changed the other High Leader's armor, at least from what I remember. Like, it looks similar to, like, what Wonder Woman's, like, wearing, as you can see in this poster. But yeah, I could tell it was different. But yeah, overall, it's just the designs of them weren't good. There was no reason for them to change it. Like, they had costume to work with from Wonder Woman, so I don't know why they changed it. It's just, overall, visually, just made everything look a lot worse. But the main issue that I have with is the way they portrayed the Amazons was that they completely disrespected their power level, like, immensely. So you guys that don't know, it's like, Wonder Woman's supposed to be like a similar power to like Superman. Like she's not as strong, but like she's pretty fucking strong. And the Amazons themselves are supposed to be very strong too. Not as strong as Wonder Woman, but they're supposed to be very strong. Because like at least in the comics, I know they're supposed to be like almost invincible-ish, not really, but almost to that level. But of course, if you watch Wonder Woman, they do die by bullets, so can't be as durable as that. But like when they fight Steppenwolf, Steppenwolf's army just kind of runs ham on them and everything. And then every single time that Wonder Woman fights Steppenwolf, it's like she's struggling against him, and it makes like she's going sort of even, but she's definitely not on the upper hand. And it makes no sense in the context, especially when you get towards the end of it, which I'll talk about later. So beyond that, let's get into Batman, actually. So Batman, he feels a lot of remorse for what he did against Superman. This case, he's now like more sympathetic, and he's like, I got to take the initiative to like drive Hope back and all that. He did a good job. It's not the same Batman that you saw in Batman versus Superman. It is that Batman, but like he's not like dark and actually just going out killing people and shit like that. Like he's toned it back. He's like, okay, I need to be a good person, kind of, in a kind of way. basically the way that he carries himself, it's like it's still the same person. You can like it's a believable transition. Like the best thing I could say is like everybody feels real. Like they're a lot of people they crack a lot of jokes, but like in a very natural way. Like sometimes it's like they say some hilarious things that will like that everybody just laughed at, and they'll just say some other things. It's like it's a joke that you normally crack with your friends that people wouldn't really laugh at. It's like maybe a chuckle, but they keep things like that in there, and I really appreciate that. Batman has some lines like that too. And one of the greatest things is that like it's like okay, so we all know that Batman actually fought people like Superman all day. Like he'd get his ass kicked, and they kind of like strongly emphasize that when he's fighting bigger forces like that, he does get his ass kicked and he can't do too much. Of course, he is very useful in the end. He finds other ways to like really help out, but they do drive that point home, and like it's kind of like the Whedon of it. It's like basically like when they're asking for superpowers and Flash asks Batman, "Well, you're Superman." It's like, "Oh, I'm rich." Like very very Whedon-esque of that. That's injected into him, but it feels very very Batman. It also is great. So next up we'll go to Aquaman. Aquaman, he gets the least amount of screen time out of everybody for sure. But they gave the nice thing I liked what they did with Aquaman is they gave you enough screen time with him that you understood where he was coming from and you understood his character. And that was all you really needed though. You just needed a good introduction. This is where he stands on things. Alright, we're good to go. So very, very enjoyable character. Basically, imagine the dude from Big Lebowski was a superhero. That's basically Aquaman. He just kind of wants to be left alone, just wants to help out this fishing village. Just like, yeah, that's really it. I don't want to be bothered. I'm kind of cool. That's basically him. He's just, complete bro. That's the best way to describe him. So he was a lot of fun. The actor did a great job portraying him. And whatnot. Fortunately, he doesn't talk. He can talk to fish, but they don't show it at all. Like they keep trying to bring up that joke all the time, and it was actually pretty great. Fortunately, yeah, you won't see a fish talk. You won't see him call a shark to bite off somebody's head, and I'm trying to think if there's another Aquaman joke in there, but yeah, unfortunately those two things you won't see. But he does a great job. He sort of fulfills his role on what he needs to do. Like I would say out of all the characters, he's probably like the least relevant one. There wasn't too much of a reason for him to be there, but they used him well in that manner. It was like he just kind of added more flavor to a lot of moments. Next one up was Cyborg. Now he impressed me the most. Visually, God no, oh God. Yeah, he looks as bad as he does in the trailers. Like you just look at him, it's so weird. So okay, so if you know how what the body types are like if you've ever watched a DC animated movie, like they are like super like thick at the top and then they just go in narrow. Cyborg's designed like that. It's so weird. Like he has a really big chest, but then like everything just gets skinny. Like he has skinny legs, skinny torso, skinny arms. It's really weird. Cause like when you look at it compared to everybody else, they look normal, and then him is just like, no, that doesn't look right. So like hopefully for the next Justice League movie or the next movie with Cyborg, because it's another Cyborg movie supposed to come out before Justice League 2. Hopefully they just give him a regular suit. Like there's honestly no reason for him not to have one. And if you need the suit to move, you just CGI it in. Like, just please do that. Nobody will be angry for you if you change the design up like that. And he's a cyborg too, so you can literally say, oh yeah, we replaced those parts, and you'd be fine. But no, so this is not the same cyborg as... Well, it's the same cyborg as Teen Titans, but like not the same personality and all that. Much more serious. So yeah, basically his backstory is he dies, and then his dad brings him back to life with the power of these cubes that everybody's going after. And basically they bring up a lot of good interesting points to him. Like he's like, when he first wakes up, he hears a foreign language because like the robot itself is kind of made out of alien hardware, so he's communicating with things that he actually doesn't understand. And there's kind of like an internal struggle of him searching the internet and just like he can just search the internet in his mind. He's learning how to do new things with his body. It's like he learns how to make projections with his hands. He learns how to fly and like all these other things. So it's like really, really good implementation of just like a struggle of what it kind of would be like if you just kind of like died and came back to life like this. The other thing too is like, although he is serious, it's done in a way where it's like tasteful. It's not like Batman vs Superman. It's like, I am important and I mean everything. No, this is like, he's like, okay, this is my real situation. I'm going to deal with it like this. Like, I really, really like that aspect of it. And then the way that he joins the team is, like, believable enough and all that. So, I really like what they did with him. He's a pretty serious character for the most part. but like never in an distracting way. Like he's done very very well, and I think a lot of people are gonna end up liking him. I'm not sure although he is supposed to get his own movie, he doesn't really seem like a character that will be able to hold his own. Like if you told me I was gonna watch 2 hours of just Cyborg, I don't know if that's gonna really work. Like Cyborg is like a character I think that works really well off of other characters. At least this version of him. So hopefully he does have somebody that teams up with him in that movie. I think it would be a very strong one. But overall, a very very good character. I'm very pleasantly surprised by him. And then we get to Flash. So Flash, so he's not he is a completely cringy character, but like in the way that you saw the trailer. But he's not annoying. He's like good at heart in the end. He's kind of learning how to do more with the Speed Force because like at first he was never thinking about helping out people, and they kind of make that dilemma clear with him. And they kind of establish that he's just a really awkward dude. Like he has no friends or anything. So the reason why he is that awkward and weird is just that's who he is. Some of the lines he says are pretty funny though. Like he does get a couple of good laughs out of you, and the moments where you're not really supposed to laugh, you don't laugh, and you're just like, okay, well played. That feels like what this character is. But though he is walking a fine line. Like he's very very Sheldon-esque from Big Bang Theory. So this one they walk that fine line good, but I could see if they play it wrong or if they write it wrong, I can see him being super annoying really really fast. But overall did a really good job with Flash here. The one thing I'll have to comment though is like, so we've at least had 2 movies where we've had fast characters. So Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, and then Quicksilver in the X-Men series as well. And they do the speed segments vastly better than they do the speed segments here with Flash. Like this one, like Flash goes into the Speed Force, it's weird. Like there's only 2 times where I'd say they did a good job with it. One of them is when he's the first time that he's kind of helping out with the first encounter with Steppenwolf, and then the second time is I'll have to get to on spoiler corner. But the rest of the times that he uses the Speed Force, it just looks weird. And the other thing too is he doesn't run; he just kind of does hardcore ice skating, as he puts it, and it looks strange. It's the best way to put it. But yeah, overall they did a good job with him in this movie here. So should you watch this movie? If you're looking for a good time of just superheroes and just good characters, it's worth a watch. It's got pretty good action for the most part. A lot of things. I wouldn't say any action is that memorable. Like maybe I would say like 2 scenes. So like don't expect this to be the best thing in the world. There's basically a sky portal at the end too, so it's nothing too interesting. But no, the characters are a lot of fun to watch. I was thoroughly entertained throughout most of it. So if you just want to go there for that, I would definitely recommend checking it out. They are, given with the scenario they're put up, like basically Whedon had to come in through. Warner Brothers told them it had to be under 2 hours. Then, so basically they had the Snyder script, then Whedon was like, this wasn't going to work. We have to rewrite a lot of this. They had to reshoot a lot. And then when they had to reshoot some things... so if you've seen like the latest trailer, you do know that Superman does make an appearance in this movie at least, and he's contractually obligated to have his beard for a different movie. So when they had to reshoot some of his scenes, they actually had to like shoot it with the beard and then actually edit it out. So it's like if you can think about all those things and like the odd green screens they do have, I do think they did the best job they could do given the scenario that they like Whedon did have to come through. They had to reshoot a lot. And I'm not sure how much was a re-edit though. I think this is the best they could do, at least given their circumstances. And overall, I'm liking the direction they're going. Every hero in this movie feels like their actual superhero. Batman feels like Batman. Cyborg feels like Cyborg. Flash feels like Flash. Aquaman feels like Aquaman. Wonder Woman feels like Wonder Woman. And that's great. That was one thing that was sorely lacking in Batman v Superman. Like Batman felt like an angry version of Batman. That was okay for that universe, but then Superman just was basically Batman, and like that was stupid. There's no reason to have 2 Batmans running around. One of them just having to be a Kryptonian. Like it just completely killed the mood and everything. Honestly, like if it was like that, this DCU would be a horrible thing to watch. Which it was before. But yeah, no, that's the best thing they did. On a technical level, though, it is terrible. It is god-awful. If you are a film snob, it's going to piss the ever-living shit out of you. I don't know if you'll be able to sit down and watch this movie, because you're going to just notice so many flaws with it. Especially if you want, also if, like, story tidbits about you. Like, if, like, plot convenience, like, kills a movie for you, do not watch this movie. You'll get a brain aneurysm or a heart attack. Just avoid it at all costs. But yeah, no, if you just want a casual movie experience, good characters, and you're really, really about that, just like a good fun time hanging out with your favorite superheroes, yeah, watch it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, my personal score, I'd definitely give it like a 5 out of 10. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it's an average movie. Particularly the reasons why I was thinking a 6 out of 10, but the main reason why they bumped it down to 5 was mostly just the way that they kind of just misrepresented like the power levels, like the Amazons. Like it was really, really bad. Like it was just, if you, the more that you think about it, the more that you realize it was kind of an insult to Wonder Woman as a character. Like her personality and characterization isn't bad, but just like kind of respecting of how strong she was, that was handled horribly. But yeah, from now on, yeah. So we'll talk about spoilers now. So spoiler sections, 3, 2, 1, go. So Superman comes back in the stupidest way possible. So the whole point of this movie is there's like these 3 blocks that are just pure energy. And basically they realize, okay, if we dig up Superman and we throw this block with him into this regeneration pool from Zod's ship, we can bring back Superman to life. And what do you know? That it fucking does it first try. It's so stupid. So they're doing this at nighttime, but then it immediately turns to daytime. When Superman just busts out of there and then just like lands, and he goes to like where his statue was, and it's all knocked down and everything. He doesn't exactly remember who he is, but he sort of does, and then they all kind of fight him. And then what are the fun? This was actually a fantastic callback. I think it was a Whedon thing, or it could have been Snyder. It's like Batman confronts him, and then Superman's like, "I remember you," and then he grabs Batman and just brings him up and just choking him, and he's like, "I want to ask you something. Do you bleed?" And I was like, genius. Fucking genius. Like, the whole movie is like littered with like great character moments like that. There's one part where they're about to fight Steppenwolf for the final time, and then like Aquaman just being super fucking legit with everything. He's like, you know what? You could be working for the enemy because you're just entirely born out of these cubes. You're just a psychotic bat that's like tripping over guilt. I don't even know what the fuck you are. I think it's what he was saying to like Wonder Woman and all that shit. And he's like, I'm young. I don't want to die, but if I want to die here, I'll fucking do it and shit. But then it just turns out he has the lasso of truth around his ankle the whole time that made him feel like everything there. And it's just like, oh my god, I know Whedon wrote that in, and I'm like, thank you for just adding those little touches like that. It's like little touches of personality from all the characters in there. Really got their chance to shine. There's several good things with Batman too. I can't remember them. Like, they made callbacks like the Adam West show. I was like, at a certain point, all we had to remember was just dealing with wind-up penguins and stuff like that. Like, just great nods overall to like just like the rest of the universe and all that. Oh, like one of the things with like Flash is like he said, I can speak gorilla sign language too. So I was like, nod to Gorilla Grodd and all that. So yeah, the movie's littered with a lot of things like that. So it's like, if you know a lot about the DC, there's going to be a lot of things you can eat up, and just subtle little details all like that. The theater was like constantly laughing too. So it's like, I know it was just like me and my friend that were just like really digging a lot of the dialogue that they were having. Superman is redeemed 100% in this movie too. I cannot stress it up. They finally got the aspect of Superman down. Because when you think of Superman, the whole thing with him is supposed to be hope, and he definitely emphasizes that here. Like, he feels a lot more like the Christopher Reeve Superman. There's actually emotion that comes out of this Superman now. Like, he's like, I would say he did a good job acting. Like, definitely one of the first things that like kind of shows you like that he did a good job is like the first opening scene. It's like a cell phone video of a kid interviewing Superman. I thought that was done wonderful. That was definitely Snyder that came that. Like, although they completely fucked up the death of Superman and Batman versus Superman, they made sure to make that death feel important in this movie, and they did a really good job on capitalizing on it. Like, Superman doesn't feel like he's disgraced at all in this movie. Like, they felt like they took the event and they knew how to make it serious, and that was good. I should have mentioned this before I went to spoilers, is that I think this movie found the perfect balance of just like the comedy and then the seriousness, like that everybody's wanting. It's like, it's taking itself seriously, but everyone's still human. They're gonna crack jokes, and it doesn't feel forced at all. And I really appreciated that. I think that's what this movie does best. The one thing I do have to comment, now that I can finally talk about Superman, his costume looks weird. It's the same. I think it's the same one from Batman vs Superman, but they did some weird hue color correction. He doesn't even look like he fits in the same screen as everybody. It's strange. And then okay, so just the Deus Ex Machina. So basically, they're like, oh shit, none of us can kill Steppenwolf, so we'll just have to resurrect Superman and do it. So then Superman gets resurrected. He goes away with Lois Lane and all that. He's trying to just kind of cope with himself and all. But it's like, okay, I'll have to go back and fight them. So all of them are fighting Steppenwolf and all that. They deal with all of the minions pretty well. They're some odd reason Steppenwolf's giving them a relatively hard time. And then Batman comes over and he just basically flicks his finger and Steppenwolf's dead. He just immediately turns into a joke the second Superman's there. He basically just showed off. Like, this guy means nothing in the grand scheme of things. And, like, literally just after, like, that shit, then Wonder Woman and Aquaman start kicking his ass. I'm like, where the fuck was this the whole time? Like, oh, that's stupid. It's like, I know Wonder Woman's supposed to be similar to Superman. And that's why I'm like, there was no reason for her to be actually losing to Steppenwolf the entire time when Superman literally just basically taps him and Steppenwolf gets his ass handed to him immediately. There's no reason for Wonder Woman not to be able to handle that, like, all by herself. Yeah, and then another thing too is, like, the Superman in this movie is a completely different Superman from the one that you saw in Batman vs Superman. Because, like, everybody's saying, like, oh, this man was inspiring hope and all that shit, and he's helping everybody. First of all, like, in Batman vs. Superman, he basically wasn't, like, lifting a finger to help anybody. The only person he was really helping out all that much was, like, Lois Lane all the time and his mother. Those were, like, the only two people he really had, like, on speed dial. Everybody else, he was, like, questioning whether they were, like, worth even protecting. So it's like, how the fuck are you a symbol of hope if you're doing shit like that? And it's just like, he's just dark and brooding. It's just like, this is not a joyful, hopeful Superman that inspired everybody at all. But they try to, in this one, they write him as that, and it works really, really well. And I'm just happy they fixed the Superman problem, and now he's going to be used very rarely because he'll literally invalidate just every problem that these people will have, probably be invalidated by Superman. So that's the main issue the DCU is going to be facing from now. The other spoilers that I'm going to be talking about is the end credit ones. There are actually 2 end credit scenes here, and like, yay, Marvel influenced them to actually do something with that. So, nobody was ever against them doing that. They're just like, oh, we're not going to copy Marvel now. Well, they got Whedon, they gave him the comedy, they made the characters the actual characters you grew up to love, and now they're actually getting you hyped for their next movies, which is a good idea. So the first one isn't much. It's just Flash and Superman. One of the funniest things, like, there's a moment where Flash is using a Speed Force when, like, Superman first, like, gets reborn, and then they're just all fighting each other, and then Flash is like, okay, I'm super fast, I'll be able to get the job with Superman. Then Superman just starts slowly turning his head around to him, and then Flash's reaction is like, oh shit, he's fast enough to keep up with me. It's a fantastic scene. So at the very end, he, like, challenges Superman to a race across the entirety of the US. That's the first scene. And then the second scene is it's so bad. It's like, it's cool, but it's bad at the same time. It's a reveal that they're planning to put a team together for the villains. I mean, they have Suicide Squad already, but they want to make it, like, I guess, the main super villains. So Lex Luthor breaks out of prison. You don't see how. He's just on his yacht. And then, unfortunately, still Jesse Eisenberg. He's still doing the same shit. So obviously no one's going to like that. If he's the main character of this or the main villain, just fire him. Just get somebody else. Like, there, at this point, this Lex Luthor's kind of irredeemable in my eyes. It's just, you'll never, he's never going to be the Lex Luthor that anybody's going to want him to be. But Deathstroke's now officially announced in the universe. He looks really good. The costume's perfect. The actor that got to play him was really good. He looks the part, at least. Like, he does take off his mask and everything, so we do see what he looks like. But yeah, I guess, like, a anti-Justice League is forming now, so yippee. I mean, there's no reason to form another team. I'm willing to bet now that every single movie that they do, they're probably going to be revealing another villain that's going to be joining that league. I'm not really looking forward to it, especially if they're going to get, like, what's his face? Jared Leto's Joker. Like, oh no, please don't do this. Honestly, like it'd be a lot smarter for them to just like be hinting more at things that Darkseid is doing, because we already know he's in this universe. Stephen was one of the lieutenants for him and all that. So it would have been better to focus for them to focus on the next event rather than putting together another team. Um, but yeah, that covers it all. Overall, an average movie, but the characters are very enjoyable. So if you are about that, I think you'll get something good out of it, and that'll do it for me. So catch you guys later.